Good morning. In the previous session, we discussed about the introduction to the Informatica and then what are the services offered by the Informatica and then what is the architecture of Informatica. In the architecture, we discussed about the repository services and then designer services like and then workflow services are there. That means in this session, you are going to know about the what is a mapping, what is exactly mapping, and then what is a how can you do the mapping service here. What is an exactly mapping here? Here in this case you are going to implementing the mapping of a warehouse server on the employee table. Here for example, I am taking the employee table. From the employee table I'm going to implementing the mapping. Here what is an exactly mapping here? Mapping is a collection of source objects and target object. That means collection, there is a large number of source objects, one or more source objects or large number of target objects linked together by a set of transformation is called here mapping here. That means linked source and target object, you will call it as a mapping. Here in this mapping here you will identifying the source analyzer at the target designer like that. And then here in this mapping here, that means how can you do this particular mapping here? In order to performing this mapping you need to open the warehouse and then that means go to the repository manager. Under the repository manager you are going to creating the what is the exactly repository manager here? That it's maintaining the metadata. Here in the metadata you are going to creating the folder. From the folder you are retrieving the data, you are storing the particular data about data information. And then coming to the creating the source table. How can you creating the source table here? The second point here, you are going to creating the source table by click on the designer service. By click on the designer service you are going to creating the source table where you are going to creating the target table manually. Select the warehouse designer. By selecting the warehouse designer, these are the second third step. Here coming to the next important step here is the fourth step indicates that taking the target table. That means in this case generating and executing the target table. What is the necessary here? It is store into the target SCART user. And then after that the final step, fifth step here is the creation of mapping. Here this particular creation of mapping, how can you creating here? By using designer. After creating the mapping you move on to the session. Here how can you move on to the section? Here click on workflow manager service. Here what is the necessity of my workflow manager service? Previously you discussed the workflow manager service. How can you click on the workflow manager service? The manager service used to creating the sessions, commands like that, workflows, and then task, different tasks. For that purpose you are using the this manager service. Here how can you create? Here go to the task developer. And then after creating this workflow service task developer you are going to the some passing the instruction to the session. Here this particular session creating a different connections. From the connections you are, that means some of the you are going to creating the different objects. Finally creating the workflow by selecting the tool. That means workflow designer, select the workflow menu. Finally you will see the result by using SQL plus editor. Here that is a simple information about the mapping. Directly open the our VMware. From the VMware we will open the this particular window. This particular window shows that Informatica Power Center. This particular Power Center consists of repository services. Previously discussed the repository services. Designers, designer services are there, and then workflow manager services are there. Here, the first task here in this case, click on repository service. What is the necessity of this particular repository service here? For creating the in order to creating the folder, here you are going to click on this particular repository service. Here click on this repository service. If you click on this repository service, it will open the window here. You okay, and then click on admin. Here what is the necessity of click on admin here? That means in order to enter into the SCART user, here in this case connect to the repository. How can you connect the repository? How can you connect the repository? Username, by giving username. Username is a SCART. Password is, that means you are giving the password as a tiger. And then now you are going to creating a folder. How can you creating the folder? Click on folder, create. Here you will give the name. That means name, you may give any name. That means I'm going to creating the mapping. That's why the name of the mapping I am giving as a P1, or simply call it as a program 1. Here in this case description is an optional one, and then owner, different owner, and then group. The owner is a SCART user, and then group here related information is a administrator. That means it will provide some of the related information. That means, and then click on OK. Then we click on OK, and then folder created successfully. That means it creates a folder. If you see here, you will see that particular folder here. This is a P1 folder. See here, P1. Yeah, this is a P1 folder. Click on P1 folder. See here, this is a P1 folder. Click on P1 folder, close it. Why? Because it maintains a metadata. That's why. Next you will move on to the designer service. Click on designer service. It's asking about the, do you know? It's a okay. That means welcome to the power center designer. Okay, click on okay. Now also click on admin. Here click on admin. Why? Enter into the SCART user. Click on admin. Here it will ask the connect to the repository. That means connect to the repository. In this case here repository here is a one is there, and then user. What is a user? Username is a SCART. Password is a tiger. You will take the password as a tiger, SCART and tiger. That means enter into the open the P1. See here, P1 already created in the repository service. That means folder P1 folder existed here. Click on P1. Then you will move on to the source analyzer. Here what is a source analyzer? The source analyzer used to retrieving the source table from the different sources. That means in order to getting the different sources. That means, for example, in the data warehouse or ETL, source and target retrieves the record. That means you will take the source table related information and place it into the target table. That is the main purpose of source analyzer. Here click on sources. Here go to the source analyzer, click on sources. Here going to click on sources. Then there exists a import to the database, importing the data related information. If you want, that means already you have a different ODBC data sources are there. If you want to create the new data sources, click on dot is there. Here click on here, click on in this. That means already different sources are there. I don't need these sources. I want to creating a new source. How can you creating the new source? Here click on there, and then add. That that indicates the add new related information. Here I am going to creating a new data source for related to the data direct close to 4.20 Oracle, and then finish. Then it will ask the Oracle driver setup, ODBC Oracle driver setup. Here it will ask the data source name, and then the source name, that means server name. The data source name, I am taking the data source name as a, for example, any name. You may give your own name. For example, I am giving the source name as a Rama or Uma. You may take any value. I am taking the Rama. And then server, which type of server you are using? Why? Because Oracle server I am taking. That's why I am giving the Oracle. And then come to here, text connection. If you click the text connection, log into the Oracle. Here the server name equal to automatically use the Oracle, and then user, it will ask the username as well as the password. What is the username? The username here in this case Scott, and then password here is a tiger, and then click on OK. Then connect to that means a connection established. It will shows the connection established. Yes, it's going to okay, and then okay. Then you created the ODBC source, data source. That means you will connect to the ODBC set data source already created is Rama. Here is there Rama. That means I am connecting to the Rama, and then username Scott, and then automatically gives the owner name Scott, and then password tiger connect. Here the Scott user connect, click on Scott user, and then it will exist a click on table. Then the Scott user consists of different table related information, account table. That means I'm going to implementing the employee table. That's why I'm taking the source table as a employee table. Yeah, this is a employee table. This particular table consists of 8 different fields. Employee number is one field, employee name is another field, job is another field, MGR, hire date, salary, commission, department number. 8 relevant fields are there for this employee table. That means you created the source data. This is a source data. And the source analyzer, you created the source related data. That means the particular databases are there. Next, you move on to the, you are going to creating the target data. Here, how can you creating the target data? Go to tools. In order to creating the target data, go to tools, and then warehouse designer. Click on warehouse designer. Click on warehouse designer. Then the warehouse designer, in the warehouse designer you are going to creating the target data, your own target data. That means the target table, you may create your own target table, or you may drag and drop the that means you may import the target table from the some other sources, or you may drag and drop from the source data. That means in this way, different ways for creating the target table. Here, come here, import. That means I'm going to creating my own target table. Here, creating the own target table, or import from the databases, or import from the files, or import from the some other sources. Now I'm going to creating the target table by using create. Click on create. Yeah, you may drag and drop this one. Click on create. That means I'm going to creating the target table. Here, if you want to enter the name of the target table, you may enter the any name here. For example, I am entering the M target. You may enter any name. M target. I am selecting the database as a Oracle, and then create. Done. You created a your own target table. How can you how can you enter the columns into the table? By double click on target table, or right click and edit the target table. By right click on edit the target table, then it's moved to the uh, task data or edit table consists of tables, column, indexes, some meta related information is there. Here I'm going to creating the column. That's why click on column. Click on column. Here you have a add symbol is there. Here click on add symbol, then it will add the different columns to the table. Here I am going to adding the 3 different columns. One is a employee number, another one is a employee name. Not a 3, 4. That means I'm going to entering the 4 different table: employee number, employee name, and then other one is a third one is a salary, and then finally salary related information. Okay, if you need 3 information enough, the target table, that means source table as well as the target table. You may select in the any data type. Simplicity, I am taking the WEKA. The 3, that means the source table consists of 8 different fields. The target table consists of only 3 different fields. I'm using only 3 different fields. I'm going to passing data from the source to target. That means linking the data. That's called here mapping. The next important go to, that means, okay, you created the target table, and then you have to store this particular target table. What is the necessary of store the target table? If you if you see in a start user, that means that indicates that you did not create the target table. That's why you have to link, you have to store this target table into the start user. For storing this target table in the start user, go to target and then click on generate and execute SQL. Click on generate and SQL. Click on generate, and before that you save that one, generate and execute SQL. Then it will ask the some of the information. What is the information? The file name. Automatically it takes the file name, and then click on create table. Here click on create table, leave the foreign key. Click on primary key. A primary key is a constraint. I am applying the one constraint. The primary key, I am taking one field as a primary key. At the time of creation, I am taking the one field as a primary key, and then generate and execute. Click on generate and execute. Then it will ask the, that means you have to select the source data, Rama data. You selected the Rama data, and then username Scott, password tiger, and then connect this one, and then connect this one, and then okay, connect this one, and then okay. Next, this is a simple information regarding the connection. Here coming to the repository service, save this one, save, and then okay, save the target, and then you created the target. Now verifying that whether the target table created or not. Click on SQL plus username Scott, password tiger, host name is a Oracle, and then okay. Then verify this one, whether this particular table existed or not. Yes, it is existed. That means it existed table selected. That means there is a way, select star from tab. That means the target table existed. If you want to see the related information, yeah, if you want to see the related information, the target table existed for this one. Then what is the next thing here? You have to creating the mapping. Closing this one. Next, go to the creation of mapping. Yeah, created the table. Yeah, connecting this one, and then leave this one, and then next you are going to creating the target table. M target existed. Otherwise, select star from M target. That means then it shows that row created. Select star from M target. You may use any one of the information related to the target table. Yeah, this indicates that select describe the target table. M target, yes, the target table existed. The target table related information existed. Next, move on to the creation of mapping. Here, how can you create in the mapping? Here, go to mapping designer, go to tools, and then click on mapping designer. Then click on mapping designer. You are going to creating the mapping. Then you have to creating the mapping. How can you creating the mapping? The map, how can you represent the mapping here? The mapping is a collection of source and target objects linked together by a set of transformation. The collection of source and target, the source and target objects. Target objects in the sense target table, source and target table linked together. That is indicates that mapping. Here give the name. The name conventions here are there. That means unique name. You have to give the unique name. Mapping, create mapping, give unique name. For example, I am giving the P1 is a program name, P1 underscore mapping, p1 underscore mapping, and then click OK. Click OK. Then drag and drop the source data. If you drag and drop the source data, there exists a source qualifier is there. The source qualifier, I previously discussed about the source qualifier. From this source qualifier only, you can pass the values from the source to target. From the source to target, you pass the values from the source to target, only source qualifier, not from the source. That is a one type of transformation. The source qualifier is a one type of active transformation. Previously discussed in the first class, we discussed about the source qualifier. And then this is a source data, this is a target data. I'm going to passing data from the source to target. How can you pass the source to the target? Here click on, yeah, you are going to clicking the some related information. Yeah, click on employee number, pass this employee number to the target table. Select, not select all, that means I'm selecting the only one way, the employee number, not all values are there. Employee number is one, employee name, pass, select the employee name and then pass to the employee name, and then salary is another field, pass the salary to the salary. That means I passed the values from the source to target, source to target. That is a way. And then validate this mapping. Very important task here is a, before executing this one, you have to validate this mapping and then save the mapping. Validate mapping as well as the save mapping. Yes, you completed the mapping task, you linked the source data, source table into target table, you completed the mapping process. Next, move on to the workflow manager. Move on to the workflow manager. What is the necessity of workflow manager? You previously discussed that one. It is used to creating the sessions as well as the workflows. For creating the session as well as the workflows, you are using the workflow manager. Click on OK and then connect to the admin. The username Scott, password Tiger, and then connect this one. And then next you go to the program one, that means p1. Click on p1. You are in a p1, click on p1, then you will identify the task developer, uh, uh, workflow designer. Here now creating the task. Here the task, different tasks are there: sessions, commands, email. That means for executing any program, you have to create in the task. Here you are giving the task name. This is a task name, you are going to give the task name. Here create task name. Here it will ask the, please select the mapping option. That means the already one mapping is there, select this mapping and then create OK and done. That means you created a one task. Next important one, connection. That means the relational, click on connection and then relational. The relation connection browser is there. That means relational command browser admin. Here you are going to create in the different object related to the source data and then target data. That means you are going to creating a different, you are going to creating the source and the target object. Here the target object, how can you create in the target object? Here click on new. You are going to click on new. Under the click on new, here click on new. First, that means different object previously I created. Click on new. Yes, I click on new. It will ask the some select object, give a object name. For example, I am using the program one, the username Scott and then password Tiger. The name of the object p1a, let us assume program 1a, p1a. Yeah, and then connect string, very important one. Here is a oracle, very important. That means you connected the oracle one created. Next you create the another one. How can you create the select the type? create the name. What is the name here? P1B, let us assume object, and then username Scott, password as a tiger, and then connect string. Here what is the connect string? Here variable as a connect string. Click on OK. That means you created a two different objects for the task developer. For particular session you created a different object. That means you connect those object to the source as well as the target. Here how can you connect those values? Here click on here, connect these values. Click on the session. Under session click on mapping. Under the mapping, the source, click on source. Under the source you selecting the, that means under the connection there is a relation is there. Under the, for the relation you click on here, relation you click on here. For selecting the object click on here, then you will selecting the object P1A, one object. That means if you use the same connection, same, if you use the same object, then one object is enough. Different for example different sources, Oracle is a one source, and then DB is a, DB2 is another source, then two objects. Anyway I created two objects. For the source one I selected the one object. For the target also I'm going to selecting the another object. Here for the target click on target. This is a source object, and then click on apply. OK. Next for target click on session mapping target, then it will selecting the target P1 to P1B. Select the P1B. Already created that object P1B, and then OK. Very important task here is a target load type, not a bulk. Here the data consists of, that means data not consist of any constraints. Any constraints, for example constraints in the sense any primary key constraints, unique key constraints, for example super key constraint, any type of constraint not having any type of constraint, then you will use the bulk data. That means loading the bulk data. For I already previously I used one primary constraint at the time of creation table. That's why I am using the target is a normal. Apply and then OK. Apply and OK. That means you created a session. Next move on to the workflow designer. In workflow manager, in the workflow manager, workflow designer, and then go to workflow, create workflow. Here the name conventions are there. P1 underscore workflow. I'm giving the P1 underscore workflow. Click on OK. Click on OK. That means this is called here workflow. The you have to link the workflow with the task in the sense session. You have to drag and drop the session and then with the workflow. Next drag and drop the session for the workflow. How can you drag here? There is a session is there. Drag and drop session. Drag and drop the session, and then next link the, how can you link the workflow with the session? There is a task. Click on task. Click on task, link task. Here click on task and then link task. Link that one, link from workflow to session, and then validate workflow. Very important one, validate workflow. Yeah, it is a valid. See here in the under bottom here you will identify the workflow and then save. Validate workflow and then save this task. Next start, that means you are going to starting the execution. How can you start the execution? Start workflow. Click on start workflow. Then what is the connect to the server? That means server, that means you need to connecting the workflow with the server. For executing any program here you have to connecting the system with the Informatica server. How can you connect to the Informatica server? go to start, and bottom here we have a start is there, and then run. Click on run, click on run. Then you will identify the MSC services.msc. Click on OK. Services.msc. Click on OK. Under the services.msc, you have a Informatica services are there. You have a different services. Go to Informatica service. Start Informatica service. Start Informatica service. Yes, the server started. Informatica service started. Next, execute the program. Go to workflow. Start workflow. Yes, it is executing the workflow. This is called here workflow monitor. Previously this is a one of the service, so one of the service of a Informatica. In the under the workflow monitor, you will see the output. Then it is running. Presently it is showing that running. It takes some time. Yes, it succeeded. Here workflow, and then different, you will see the our result here. This indicates the properties map. Properties map that indicates that the target, the success rows, and then the targets rows displaying here. That means if you want to see the result, the target result, then means go to in mapping. Under the mapping here, M target. Go to M target. Right click on M target. M target is a target object or target table, and then preview the data. Uh, Preview the data. Ian Rama, Scott, Tiger. The password here is a Tiger. Next, connect. You will see the target table consists of some data. Previously not having any information for the target table, only descriptions are there for the target table. Yes, you will see here, select star from M target. M target. Then you will identify the target related information. This it will shows the why I'm getting the point one. That means employee table consists of 8 fields. The target table consists of employee number. Points in the sense, the employee number I am selecting as a data type as a where character. The salary I am selecting the data type as a vary character. That's why it is showing that 0.000 values. Here you will see the select star from EMP table. Yes, it will show some values related to the EMP table. This is a some information regarding the how to creating the mapping, and then how to store data into the mapping. That is a representation. Okay, thank you.